This is our Pioneer Project, Brittany Phillips and Taylor Wells.
Okay, the pioneer I chose was John Watson, and he is known as the father of behaviorism. John B. Watson was born January 9, 1878 in Greenville, South Carolina. His father was abusive and he abused alcohol and left the family when Watson was only 12 years old. As a result, Watson became very rebellious against his mother and engaged in what he would classify as deviant behavior for a period of time. At age 16, he entered Freeman University and graduated 5 years later with a master's degree. He then began studying psychology at the University of Chicago and earned his PhD in 1903. Watson worked for a short period of time as an instructor at the University of Chicago before accepting a position at Johns Hopkins University in 1908. It was here that he began running experiments on animals to study behavior control. Eventually, he expanded his research to study the behavior of young children. In 1913, Watson delivered a lecture entitled Psychology as the Behaviorist Views It, which later became his defining moment. It was this speech that introduced the idea of removing consciousness and abstract concepts from psychology and creating a more scientific branch called behaviorism. Some of his contributions were that in 1925 he wrote Behaviorism, which was a book geared toward the average reader, and in 1928 he published Psychological Care of Infant and Child, which focused on how to apply behaviorism to parenting. After leaving his teaching post, John B. Watson began a career in advertising, claiming that he could use his prior behaviorist principles to his advantage in this career field. He was quite successful, eventually becoming the vice president of this company. Although Watson's career was short-lived, his contributions to the field of psychology and parenting have survived for nearly a century. In fact, remnants of many of his ideas can still be seen in parenting books, education, and behavior modification techniques. His major contributions include behaviorism, expansion of the stimulus response theory, and detached parenting. The death of John Watson. Despite his controversial beliefs, Watson was given the APA Award in 1957 for his contributions to the field of psychology. John B. Watson died a lonely and recluse on his farm in Connecticut on September 25, 1958. Some people say he regretted writing about parenting because he did not know enough about the subject, and when people thought he didn't know enough about the subject, they related it back to his own parenting styles, and John Watson was believed not to be a good parent to his biological kids. And the fact that he burned all his unpublished work before he died may indicate that in the end he was questioning his own theories. Okay, and the video I chose for John Watson was an experiment that he held. Oh, I hit it.
What believes that biology is that your experiences in life are education learned by it. Chief among these scientists is psychologist John Watson. There are opposites. Yes. This is the heyday of Trinitarians who said that human beings were constrained by their genetic inheritance. And Watson is saying that this is only human beings were shaped so over the years. Watson studies the behavior of hundreds of Watson. We arrive in a world of blank slate. Nearly everything is learned. Even things are instinctual, like fear. To prove that environment is more powerful than genetics, Watson designs an experiment for an individual Albert. He films it for posterity. At first, Albert shows little fear. You don't want to places a burning newspaper. Albert is also not afraid when he encounters a white rat the first time. But then Watson shows Albert the rat made by a lamp. Does it again, and does it again. Eventually, Albert learns to fear not just the rat, all furry things, even without the loud noise. In Watson's mind, the little Albert experiment is a success because it proves that fears are learned, not inherited. Watson calls his theory behaviorism, begins to popularize it. He urges parents to take active control of their children's upbringing by shaping their environment. To think of the home as a scientific laboratory.
We're Red Link. We wanted to show you how we created our amazing new website.
Oh, goodness. Okay. The pioneer that I chose was Albert Bandura. This is a picture on the left from whenever he first started, and a picture on the right is a new picture because he's still alive. He is the father of behavioral psychology. He was born in 1925 in Mundare, Canada. As a teenager, he decided to take psychology just to fill up his schedule, and he fell in love with the subject. And then he received his PhD in 1952 at the University of Iowa. Bandura came to the United States in 1949, and he was naturalized in 1956. He and Virginia Barnes got married, and their children are Carol and Mary. He is most famous for the Bobo doll experiment. There's a picture on the right, it's kind of blurry, but that's where they took this Bobo doll and they put it in a room, and they had two sets of children. And the children go into the room and they've never seen anything done to it, and they're nice to it, and they aren't ugly to it at all. And then their other set of children go in with an adult, and the adult is aggressive towards the Bobo doll. And then it shows that the children, when they're in the room with the Bobo doll, are aggressive to the Bobo doll as well. And that was just showing that children learn behaviors from adults. Dr. Bandura went on to incorporate social modeling into his views on social learning theory, which had a huge impact on psychology in the 80s. Social learning theory focuses on what people learn from observing and interacting with other people. He believed that people could learn new behaviors by watching others. He was a very popular psychologist. He is fourth place as the most frequently cited psychologist of all time. He has studied many different topics over the years. One of them is aggression in adolescence. More specifically, he was interested in aggression in boys who came from intact middle-class families. Children's abilities to self-regulate and self-reflect, and self-efficacy, which is a person's perception about their ability to produce effects or influence events that concern their lives. Bandura was the first to demonstrate that self-efficacy, the belief in one's own capabilities, has an effect on what individuals choose to do, the amount of effort they put into doing it, and the way they feel as they are doing it. Bandura also discovered that learning occurs both through those beliefs and through social modeling, thereby originating social cognitive theory in 1986, which holds that a person's environment, cognition, and behavior all interact to determine how the person functions. as opposed to one of those factors playing a dominant role. He's widely published and has received various honorary degrees and awards all over the world. He's highly recognized for his work in social learning theory and social cognitive theory, that people are active participants in their environment and are not simply shaped by that environment. He's still an active member of Stanford's faculty today. He's continuing his research into the effects of modeling on human behavior, emotion, and thought. He is also researching self-efficacy and stress reactions. At what level of internal control can people separate themselves from harmful acts that they are committing? This is the video for Albert Bandura.
The self-efficacy theory relates to a person's perception of their ability to achieve a goal.
Ready?
What is this
Very
theory about?
beginning. Pull your thing. Yeah, now pause it.
This theory about?
Ready?
1, 2, 3.
Self-efficacy theory relates to a person's perception of their ability to achieve a goal. Researcher Alfred Bandura sees it as the body's self-regulatory function. Defiant with self. Not you are less likely to try and likely to increase self-efficacy. They are effective master various spots, verbal persuasion, and arousal. Master, you can increase your self-efficacy through practice. With repeated practice of the task, you gain relevant experience, which gives you more confidence. You can do the tasks on your own and realize you have the capability to deal with what you were initially afraid of. Bandura says this is the most important source of increasing self-efficacy. The various models you can increase your self-efficacy by observing the successes of others who are similar to you. By watching people like yourself and successfully accomplish something you would like to try helps you to think that you can do it too. Verbal persuasion, you can be more confident than you are assured and master a task with words of encouragement. We judge our own self-efficacy by how we perceive our anxiety level in different situations. Stress, worry, and fear can negatively affect self-efficacy, while positive and energized emotional states can help improve performance. Hence, it is helpful to develop stress coping strategies, for instance, muscle relaxation, visualization, or deep breathing. Let's apply what you learned about the Bandura's self-efficacy theory. He is a fresh graduate from SMU and has just joined the company. He is tasked to give a presentation during a team meeting. However, this is his first time making a presentation to the company. He is not confident that he will perform as his supervisor's expectations.
Our connections between Watson and Bandura are,
According to Watson, the response that has most recently occurred after a particular stimulus is the response most likely to be associated with the stimulus. And the more frequently a stimulus and response occur in association with each other, the stronger that habit will become. Behavior can be predicted and controlled. Any individual can be molded to fit a desired result.
and according to Bandura, he said, fortunately, most human behavior is learned observationally through modeling from others. So what that means basically is that with behaviors being learned by modeling others, a person watches and imitates what behavior is around them, and that gives us the ability to change.